Hello everybody and welcome to another video, and today we're going to be looking at a band called Roses Unread. I actually quite like that name, even though it doesn't really make much sense, but I do like the name for some reason. Now, I'd not heard of them before. I was actually contacted by the band themselves asking if I'd check out some of their music. So I did a little bit of research, and I can't really find that much information about the band, but what I do know is they are a heavy rock band from Tennessee, and they were conceptualised in 2007 by lead vocalist Alison Purifoy, who was Alison Teague at the time, until she got married, I'm assuming, to one of her bandmates, John Purifoy. Now, we're going to be looking at a track today called Rapture. I do have some lyrics up here. Now, like, the music is described as heavy rock. That can mean pretty much anything, really, so not entirely sure what to expect. All I know is it's a female-fronted rock band. But yes, I've got the lyrics up here, so we can have a look at that as we go. So I think we'll jump straight to it and see what we've got. So, Rapture by Roses Unread. Let's see what we've got. Right, well, there we go. That was Rapture by Roses Unread. Now, they describe themselves as a heavy rock band. I would describe them as much heavier than that. They are in the sort of metal area, but then I'm only going by that one track. I haven't heard anything else by them. Now, what I did read was that they are influenced by bands like Lacuna Coil and Evanescence and a few others, and you can kind of see that influence coming through in that music there, you know, especially the sort of bass and guitar riffs in that track actually reminded me a lot of some of the tracks off of Lacuna Coil's Delirium album. So, you know, there was a clear sort of influence of Lacuna Coil coming through in there. Now, overall, it was pretty decent. You know, music was pretty good, pretty heavy. And Alison's voice, very, very good. Although, you know, for the most part, her voice is great. However, there are certain points where she sort of almost puts a little screech on the beginning of certain words. Like when she says, waiting for the rapture. There's that little sort of, almost sort of screech on the, sort of emphasising the word. And it sounds so forced. It doesn't sound good. You know, it sounds a little too forced. You know, I know what she's going for, and there are other bands and musicians that do similar things. But here, it doesn't sound as good. It sounds a little bit forced, in my opinion. That's just my personal opinion. But for the most part, you know, very, very good. She has got a very good, very strong, powerful voice. So there's just that little thing that bugs me about it. It's just that little sort of semi-screech to emphasise certain words. It doesn't sound good to me. Now, the song itself, a song called Rapture, you know, I automatically thought it was probably going to have some sort of religious message and all that going on it. In it, because, you know, do end up getting a lot of songs like that. However, this song seems to be remorse and regret for mistakes that have been made and wishing you could go back and change them, but knowing that you can't. That's what it seems to be. The song starts, I wish I could start over, blank like a canvas. I'd paint a pretty picture, but I bet it wouldn't last. I'd find a way to ruin all the beauty captured, waiting for my sentence, waiting for the rapture. But nothing good will come because I poison what is pure, just a nobody who will never find a cure. Then came the chorus, I can't reason with myself, I'll never make it back. The past's in the rear view, I'm always losing track. Where do I go, where do I go, where do I go from here? Where do I go, where do I go, where do I go from here? So, you know, the opening two lines is, I wish I could start over, blank like a canvas, I'd paint a pretty picture, but I bet it won't last. So it's like, I really wish I could sort of try this again, you know, I wish I could have a do-over and not make as many mistakes as I did the first time round, you know, I wish I could just, like, wipe the slate clean, try again, you know, and make better job of it than I did the first time round. But there's that line there, I bet it wouldn't last. And it's like, you know, even if I did start all over again, I bet I'd mess it up somehow. It says I'd find a way to ruin all the beauty captured, you know, waiting for my sentence, waiting for the rapture. So it'd be like, I'd end up destroying everything anyway. I'd end up making the same mistakes and, you know, just end up waiting for the day of my reckoning, as it were. And it says, but nothing good will come because I poison what is pure. So it's like, they feel like everything they touch becomes corrupted, you know, they destroy everything they touch, you know, everything good that they come into contact with ultimately ends up getting spoiled. So essentially they're talking about, you know, wanting to start over, regretting whatever's happened in their past, wishing they could do it all again. And it carries on, you always love to show me, just like everyone else, how well you think you know me when you don't know yourself. I've lost all my patience and forgotten laughter, serving out my sentence, waiting for the rapture. But nothing good will come because I poison what is pure, just a nobody who will ever find a cure. And then into that chorus again, I can't reason with myself, I'll never make it back. The past is in the rear view. I'm always losing track. Where do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go from here? Where do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go from here? And there was a couple of illegible lines that were said at the end of the track, and they weren't written in the lyrics, which were under the video. But I couldn't make out what she was saying, unfortunately. Overall, you know, it's a pretty decent track, other than that little sort of personal niggle that I have. It was pretty decent, you know, like I said, the music was fairly heavy, you know, there was definite influences you could see in the music. And, you know, she got a good voice. And, yeah, it was a pretty decent track, I quite like that. I'd be interested in hearing some of their other stuff to see if, you know, because like I said, they stated they were a heavy rock band, but I consider that more in the area of metal, given the strength and weight of the music. So maybe their earlier music might be more on the rock side of stuff, I don't know. We shall have to see. I will have to check something out in the future. But, yeah, for the time being, I will leave that as it is. If anybody would like to suggest a track for me to react to, then please do so by all means. You can drop a comment in the comment section below, or message me on my Facebook or my Instagram, or you can even message me through my Patreon, where you could also help to support this channel and help me create future content. There is also an option in my Patreon where you can get your suggestion jumped to the front of the queue. There are some limitations on that, however, just to be fair to those who suggest tracks through normal means, like through Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube comments. And those who do suggest tracks to me through those usual channels do know it might take me a while to get around to your track, since I get suggested so many tracks every single day that my list grows faster than I can record videos. But I do write down every suggestion I get, so it will get done eventually. It's just going to take me some time to get around to it, unfortunately. Also, Metalhead Reacts is a proud supporter of the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, a British-based charity whose main goal is to put an end to hate crimes, mainly those aimed at people of the alternative culture. And it's something that I'm very passionate about myself. Something I think is very, very important, something that I think definitely needs more attention, because every day all over the world, people from the alternative community are getting violently attacked just because of their taste in music. No other reason than that. You know, people of the alternative community are getting ganged up on, punched, kicked, beaten to within an inch of their lives just because of their taste in music, and this needs to stop. It needs to change, because as it stands at present, nothing is getting done. No one's talking about it. There isn't enough widespread knowledge of the fact that this is happening, and essentially the people committing these crimes are getting away with it because nothing is getting done about it, and that needs to stop. The last time there was a widespread notion that this happened, the last time that this got any media coverage was 12 years ago, when Sophie Lancaster and her boyfriend Rob Maltby were jumped by a group of 5 or 6 people and beaten and kicked so severely that they both ended up in a coma. Now, Rob Maltby, he survived the attack, thankfully. He was in a coma for maybe a week or so. I can't remember exactly how long, but he survived. Sophie Lancaster ended up in a coma for 13 days before she died. She was beaten and kicked and had her head stamped on so severely that she died from injuries. This girl was murdered because she liked alternative music. And this was 12 years ago. This is the last time there was any widespread coverage of the fact that this is happening. And I can guarantee you, in the 12 years since that happened, several hundred, maybe even 1,000 people from the alternative community have been attacked in a similar fashion, but it's never been spoken about. Nothing's been reported on it because nobody's died. And it shouldn't take a tragedy like someone's death for this to be spoken about. Every day we see all these other hate crimes around the world, sexism, racism, homophobia, transphobia, ableism. We hear about these every single day, at every point on the spectrum, from the most violent, severe of these crimes, from like murder, down to the most petty of crimes of someone just calling someone a racial slur or something like that. We hear these every single day. But we hear nothing about these people that are getting beaten so severely, sometimes hospitalised, sometimes even getting bones broken, sometimes even worse injuries. we don't hear a single thing about them because they're people from the alternative community and nobody cares. This needs to stop. It needs to change. And this is what the Sophie Lancaster Foundation is all about. They want to bring more attention to the fact that this is happening. They want to stop things like this happening again. They don't want to see another family go through what they went through when they had to watch their daughter slowly die over the course of 2 weeks. They want to stop what happened to their daughter ever happening again. It should never have happened in the first place. So if you'd like to find out more about the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, there is a link to their website in the description below. You can go over there, find out what they're working on at the moment, find out what the goal is, because they can explain it a lot better than I can. And if you can help them out in any small way, obviously you don't feel obligated to do so, but if you can help them out in any way, like a small donation through their website or something as simple as one of these Sophie wristbands from their web store, you know, the smallest amount can make the biggest difference. And the sooner we get more people talking about this, the sooner we bring more attention to this fact, the sooner we can help to stamp out prejudice, hatred, and intolerance everywhere. But I'm going to leave that as it is for the time being. Thank you all very, very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.